Hello, everyone. Welcome to our conversation today, where we're going to be talking about veganism and the Golden Rule. My name is Susan Soleil, and I am so happy to be here with these beautiful people, our guests, and folks who helped put our Compassion for Animal project together. Oh, happy to have you with us, Gwenna. Thank you. We have one more that we hope will join us. As I said, Susan Soleil with the Charter for Compassion, and I'll start. So what I hope our guests will do is introduce themselves, talk about how the Golden Rule and veganism, what that means to them, how they went vegan, and then their current projects. And I think we can all just take a few minutes to do that and then kind of see where our conversation goes. And I'll start Susan Soleil, as I said, with the Charter for Compassion. And I have been a vegetarian since I was 2, and I could say no, and my mom wouldn't make me eat meat. So that was really nice. But it took until 2015 when my daughter said, "And why aren't you vegan?" for me to go, "Oh, yeah, there's like this whole other step I can do to show my love for animals." So I did that in 2015. So I feel like I'm new to the vegan world. And I'm really excited to be here with all of you to hear your stories and your wisdom. For me, the Golden Rule is synonymous with being vegan. If we are going to treat all others the way we want to be treated, it includes every living being. And my current project, actually, here at the Golden Rule Project, is the Compassion for All Animals Day, which is why this group is here, to celebrate the Great Golden Rule and to also find ways to celebrate animals all year long and extend our compassion to animals all year long. So with that, I am done, and I would like to actually turn it over to Judy. Would you like to go next, please?
Sure. Thanks, Susan. And I just want to say to everybody how grateful I am to Susan for putting all this together, for organizing this meeting, and also yesterday, which was the Animals Day. And there were lots of wonderful videos that she organized and put together. Just wonderful. So, but yes, I am Judy Carmen, and I'm the author of Peace to All Beings. And also, my latest book is Homo Ahimsa, Who We Really Are and How We're Going to Save the World. So that's obviously a passion of mine. I went vegan about 25 years ago, and before that I was vegetarian like Susan. It took a while for me to figure out what was happening to cows and chickens, and once I found that out, I went vegan. And totally agree with you, Susan. Veganism is synonymous with the Golden Rule. The Golden Rule project has been around for quite a while, and I think it's popular and well known because the Golden Rule is shared by nearly every religion and every ethical tradition on the planet. And everybody pretty much knows what it is, but most people tend to think of it as just applying to human beings. And of course, it can't, it has to apply to all beings if we're going to be consistent and if we're going to apply it in a way that jives with our inner love for all beings, which is part of what I talk about in my book Homo Ahimsa, is that in order to be consistent with the love that we have in our hearts that is natural to us, we need to apply the Golden Rule to all beings and not just to people. So I went vegan, or vegetarian, I should say, when I was a kid, but my parents were big meat eaters, and I didn't quite know how to navigate that. And this was back in the 40s and 50s, And I'd never heard the word vegetarian, much less vegan. And so I got pretty sick because I was just eating Twinkies mainly and cupcakes and stuff, and Frosted Flakes. So eventually I learned how to go vegetarian and then finally vegan. So, and I love this way of life. I love living the golden rule for all beings and showing my love for all creatures. So, thank you for letting me share my passion.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Judy. I'm just going to continue around the screen. Can we go to you next, Lisa?
Oh, sure. And I as well want to thank you, Susan, for everything you've done. This is so exciting to have the very first Compassion for All Animals Day, which launched yesterday, and then will continue through Earth Day with wonderful programs that introduce veganism to people and also kindness to animals. So we're really thrilled to be part of this project. So I am work with In Defense of Animals. I'm the campaigns director there. Very excited to uh, live my passion as well, as Judy mentioned. And I also help to found Vegan Spirituality, which explores veganism as a spiritual practice. And in combination with Judy, co founded the Interfaith Vegan Coalition. This is also a project of In Defense of Animals. And together, Judy and I have helped to provide a lot of resources for people to especially people of faith who are interested in advocating for animals within their place of worship. And we've done that through our website on interfaithvegancoalition.org. And we also have put together these wonderful kits so that they're religion specific. So each person who's interested in advocating for animals within their tradition, they can go to find these resources which have poems and stories and images and quotes and event ideas and activities and all sorts of video links and blogs to learn more about how do we express that compassion for all beings within our place of worship. So those are really exciting tools that we've put together. And my personal journey, so I really thought about being vegetarian when I was quite young, but didn't get a good response from my family. They basically said, "Who's going to cook for you?" And that left me a little bereft before I knew how to do any of those things. However, later in life, I did work on a farm. It was an environmental education facility, a Hidden Villa Ranch, which is really well known for bringing people of diverse backgrounds together to educate children about the environment and our impact on the environment. So that was a wonderful place to get started. However, we did help animals. We helped birth animals, and that was really wonderful and exciting. And got to care for them hands on, all sorts of animals from goats to cows, sheep. And during that time, I realized that these animals, it was a working farm, so they were going to be sent to slaughter, and that was very upsetting to me, especially after having help them give birth and leading children on tours to talk about these wonderful animals and where their food came from. One little boy asked one day while we were looking at the sheep, "Is the meat on the inside?" And was really curious about how it was that we got to that. And so some of the times our conversations involved like how the animals were killed. And so thinking and talking about all of this gave me the great inspiration to become vegetarian at the time. And then shortly after, I met a group of macrobiotic vegetarians who turned out that basically they're vegan. So that's what happened many, many moons ago. I don't know, maybe 30 years ago. So that's my vegan story. And a little bit about what I do and some of the projects I've been working on. And I'm also just thrilled to be part of this Golden Rule Day initiative because to me, the Golden Rule really is aligning my mind, my heart, and my actions. So it helps me to really feel at one with myself, but also to know and trust that when I make my daily choices about what I eat, what I wear, the actions that I take, it really helps me to stay in alignment spiritually with who I want to be in the world. And so, to me, the golden rule is all about uh, connecting my thoughts, my behaviors, and my spiritual goals.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think we'll just keep this a circle, and I'm just going to go to you, Silas, and then we'll actually end with you, Thomas. So, Silas, please share a little bit about who you are, your story, how veganism relates to the Golden Rule, and whatever current project you're working
Well, thank you, Susan. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity. And as I said, I'm really grateful that the Charter for Compassion is doing this on Golden Rule Day. Uh, well, in my case, I was born vegetarian. I was born into a vegetarian family, and but then we were told that we have to consume dairy. Dairy is important for your health, etc., etc. The whole myth around dairy was very strong in our family. And I started having all kinds of inflammation problems when I was very young. And they told me it is, they gave names for these things and started giving me pills. And I was on these pills for a long time. In fact, since the age of 14, I've had all kinds of inflammation issues and sinus problems and things that I later discovered were because I was consuming dairy. I didn't know that at that time. All I knew is that I had to be on pills all the time. And I was taking pain medication every day. And then one day I came home. I was trained as an engineer, and I was working on the internet back in the 90s. And then I was working on making the same internet connections 10 times faster in 2005. And I came home one day and I saw Al Gore's presentation on TV. And I was so shocked. I told my wife, if half of what he's saying is true, I feel like I'm wasting my time working on making the internet faster. She said, if you think it's that important, why don't you study it? You have the luxury of doing this. So I did. And within a few months, I realized it's far worse than what he was saying. And so I closed my company and I started focusing on the environment full time. But I didn't go vegan right away. Okay, that was the beginning of my journey into understanding how our lifestyle choices impact the environment. And I got trained by Al Gore in 2006. I was in the second batch that he trained. And during the training, I asked him, if everyone stopped consuming animals, will we not return all that land back to nature? And then will that not reverse climate change? And he turned to Roy Neal, his chief of staff, and he said, how did this guy get in here? He didn't want to answer that question. So I decided I needed to focus on this. I need to study this and understand. Meanwhile, I thought, my consumption of dairy was not causing such a big problem, because that's what the papers were all saying. It was just, dairy is a small addition to veganism, but the main problem was coming from meat consumption, which I wasn't doing, right? Then in 2008, I went to this village in India, in Rajasthan, India. And I saw what was happening in the village, how the old cows were walking around eating anything new that was growing on the ground. And the area was so desolate. And as soon as you put a fence and prevent the cows from going somewhere, there was lush green forest on the other side of the fence. So I took a picture of that fence, which is on the cover of my book, Carbon Dharma, and I went vegan on the spot. Because I realized that my consumption of dairy was actually far worse, causing far worse environmental damage than even the consumption of meat would be doing. Because if you want to consume dairy and you don't want to hurt the cow, which is what the story I was told, that you're not hurting the cow, then you will have to allow the calf to drink half the milk, which means for the same amount of milk, you need double the number of cows. And I was doing all these calculations and I realized, my God, if everyone consumed dairy, like I was doing and didn't want to hurt the animal, the planet would be dead right now. So I went vegan on the spot. That was 2008. And within a month, I realized that all my inflammation problems went away. I had no more sinus problems. I had no more arthritic pains. In fact, it happened accidentally. One day I forgot to take my arthritic pain medication. And, at the end of the day, I told my wife, I don't have that pain anymore. I forgot to take the medication today. And then I said, I'm not going to take it tomorrow and see what happens. And so the next day, I deliberately did not take my pain medication, and I started jumping up and down saying, I don't have any pain anymore. And so it was such a relief. And then I was very upset with the medical system for not telling me this, for not even diagnosing the root cause of the problems, and just giving people pain medication when it was their consumption that was causing the problem. And later, when I did my research, I realized that so many people around the world are so-called lactose intolerant, or really they're lactose normal, and that as mammals, we stop digesting lactose when we wean from our mother. And so most mammals cannot drink milk after they're no longer infants. And we are the only species that had a genetic mutation that allowed us to digest lactose, and among a few of us. Vast majority of humans cannot digest lactose. And yet this is being pushed on everybody because it's the source of so many um, profits for the medical industry. Because people get sick and they take diabetes medication, they take heart disease medications. All this comes from consuming animals and animal products. So I realized that it's the root cause of almost every known environmental ill on the planet, and physical health as well. And so I dedicated my life to spreading the message about it, to creating documentaries so that people understand what is going on and how we have systematically destroyed the planet for something that's making us sick. So it makes no sense whatsoever. So the golden rule truly is like karma. What you do to others comes back to you. So if you want things, uh, if you want a thriving planet, you have to be kind to all life and kind to every being on this planet. So it applies to every being. And I think the original intent of the golden rule in every religion. And it's so remarkable that almost every religion on the planet has a golden rule, or a version of the golden rule, because it's something that unites all of us around the world so that we can all come back and become one family again. Because that's what we were in Africa, 50,000 years ago, before we spread out throughout the world. And now we are coming back together again through little boxes on our screen, but we are coming together again from around the world, thanks to the internet. So with that, I'll pass the talking stick.
Thank you for that story. I really appreciate it. I got to know more about you in this. This is lovely. And Gwenna, it's so wonderful to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. So my name is Gwenna Hunter. I am the founder of Vegans of LA. I'm actually veganizing a food bank that's going to be launching in the next few weeks, hopefully the end of April, no later than the beginning of May. We're in the process of collecting goods and asking and begging companies for their stuff. But it'll be going very soon. As far as the golden rule, I believe that, everyone is made up of that. Like, we're born with that. That's who we are. And then, of course, based on epigenetics or whatever is passed down to us in our DNA and what we experience with our parents, we slowly but surely kind of, push it to the side, but it's in everyone. And I definitely am not perfect with the golden rule, but I am much better than I used to be. And I continue to evolve and become better and better, and expand my awareness of being the golden rule. I became vegan in 2016. Mine started as a very, I'm sure everybody's like heard this story like 1,000 times, so I'm going to share it 1,001 today. But it was basically what I consider to be a very spiritual or supernatural experience. It manifested through a dream. I was having little weird things happen in my life where, I would just feel a certain kind of way about food and about animals, but it wasn't making any sense, so I would just push it away. I've never been like a big animal person other than like, cats, but I had a dream that I was like flying in the sky and I saw this really beautiful green pasture with this gorgeous cow. And I was in the sky and she looked up at me and I looked at her, and our eyes locked and we merged and became one with each other. And I was the cow and I possessed her consciousness so I could feel everything. I felt love, joy, pain, sorrow, birth, children, like everything you feel as a human. I felt that as the cow. And it was like her whole life was like inside of me. And when I woke up from the dream, because at the time I was vegetarian, but it wasn't for animals, it was just for health reasons. And when I woke up from the dream, I was very emotional and I was crying because I was like, oh my God, cows love and they're aware, and we want to eat their bodies. Like, what a horror show that has to be for them to be aware of their own reality. And we are programmed to believe that they're food. And so as I had that awakening, it still didn't click about the dairy because I still in my mind thought that the dairy was given and that the cow said moo and that the farmer was in his blue jean overalls and he was milking her with his hands and it was a mutual relationship. So literally probably like within a week or two, I saw the video from Aaron Janis called Dairy is Effing Scary. It's like a 5-minute video that shows you what the cows go through. And when I saw that, my jaw dropped because I had no clue. Like I probably could have gone my whole life if I had not seen that, still having the assumption of how we obtain dairy. And when I saw that, like, it wasn't like looking at a cow. To me, it was like looking at another female, another woman, because I saw rape, I saw murder, I saw kidnapping, I saw just all slavery. I saw it all. It was very clear that that same blueprint that gets passed around in different cultures and different species was being used on cows. And I went completely like vegan, like strict. I became one of those vegans that was just like posting every day and, posting slaughter videos because I'm like, okay, if they see what I saw, they'll stop too. But I realized after few months of pushing people away and not and understanding the psychology of people, that just because people see what you saw doesn't mean that they're going to receive it in the same way. So over the years, I've learned how to like tailor my conversation and talk to people in different communities, people of color communities, about the issues of animals without sounding too preachy. And it's something I still refined and still expand on. But yeah, it's been an amazing journey, and I'm glad that I have been a part of it and get to share it with other people.
Wow, what a great story. So powerful. Thank you very much. And I can't wait to hear how your vegan food pantry goes. That's
Thank you.
very exciting. Yeah, thank you. All right, Thomas, please take it away.
All right, thank you. Thank you for everybody for being here. And I am Thomas Jackson. I am a vegangelist and a filmmaker. And I directed a documentary called A Prayer for Compassion, where I went around and explored the teachings of compassion at the heart of many different spiritual religions and traditions. And spoiler alert, what I discovered was that a vegan lifestyle is in total alignment with all of those traditions. I mean, we talk about the golden rule, and Silas mentioned that the golden rule is in all of those traditions I explored. They also have things in common, like taking care of the body temple. They talk about taking care of the environment, taking care of other people, and every one of them had things about taking care of animals. And That checks the box. Veganism checks the box in all of those. So, I feel like veganism, the reason I call myself a vegangelist is because I have the gospel of spiritual alignment, because it's the good news. And the good news is the more you align yourself with your true compassionate nature, which we all have a true compassionate nature, which is vegan, whether we're in alignment with it or not. But the more we align ourselves with that, the better we're going to feel. And the more we're going to feel connected to all of life, to whatever spiritual or religious tradition we're on. I've seen it over and over. People will come in for health reasons, and once they start taking the violence out of their diet, their hearts will soften, and they will understand what's happening with the animals. But I wasn't always vegan. And matter of fact, I grew up in the South Georgia, so didn't even know what a vegetarian was. I was in my mid-30s, living in New York City, attending a Unity church, and starting a meditation practice, a daily meditation practice when I became vegan. I think it was the meditating every day that did it for me, because growing up in the South, I had seen like animals killed for food. I'd seen my grandmas wring the necks of chickens. I can remember watching my dad like gutting the fish and cutting their heads off, and they would still be alive. And I remember just looking up and thinking, like, one day I'm gonna have to suck it up and do this in order to be a grown up. Like, that's what you have to do. Like, and it's kind of burying those feelings, But I think when I started meditating every day, and I started realizing what was on my plate was an animal that was once alive, and now it was dead because I was choosing to eat it. Like, that felt out of alignment for me. So yeah, that's so I came onto veganism for spiritual reasons. And then it was only after I was vegan almost a decade, when my daughter was born, and I saw Cowspiracy, that I realized what was happening with the environment. I mean, I was like, live and let live, until I realized, man, we are all sharing the same planet. You can no longer live and let live. You kind of got to live and wake up. So yeah, so the film took me around. I got to meet a lot of great people. I got to see a lot of people that healed themselves of so many different illnesses and lifestyle diseases, doctors that worked with so many people. I mean, I really walked away convinced that so much of the unnecessary suffering, if not all of it, is being created by people being out of alignment with that true compassionate nature and making choices that is not only hurting their health, but hurting the environment and bringing, misery to animals and factory farms. And so I'm a vegangelist. I go around and I talk about the gospel of spiritual alignment. And the other thing I'm working on right now is after we finished the Prayer for Compassion, we took the film around, and I just kept shooting, kept rolling the camera. So I have a docu-series that I'm almost through. I got one more episode to go with the rough cut, and hopefully by the end of the year we'll have it out. It follows us around back to India. I got to go back to India with Dr. Rao. He had, I think, a month there. I had 3 weeks there, and that itself was 2 episodes. I mean, that was an amazing experience. But yeah, so I'm here, grateful to be here, and thank you for hosting this and for bringing our awareness. I really feel like every day should be the Golden Rule Day.
Thank you. All of you have shared so much wisdom in just a short amount of time. I think what I'd like to do is kind of open it up to see if there are other comments, if you want to respond to stories from somebody else that you've heard, if there are any chats. I'm not seeing that right now. That's good. That means that nobody feels ignored because I haven't been looking at the chat box. Silas, what are you doing in November? Do you want to share?
Yeah, we haven't announced it yet. We are going to announce it on April 24th.
Should we wait then?
Yeah, but I've invited the Charter for Compassion to join, and so because we are now gathering the core tribe that's going to make this happen.
Okay.
And
Something
yeah,
amazing in November.
it's going to come. There's going to be a day in November where we want to feed everyone on the planet a healthy meal. So no one should go hungry on that day. So that's the goal. And so it's it's getting people from the bottom, from the ground up, from the grassroots, to do that. So I'm going to be depending on people like Gwenna and those who have food banks, to go out there and give out healthy food. So yeah, it's a lot of organizing that needs to happen around it.
All right. Well, April 24th, is that when the big announcement is?
Yeah,
So,
the big announcement will be April 24th at Jane's Unchained TV party.
okay.
So we have a huge balloon of a cow that we're bringing, and so Viga will be coming.
All right. Wonderful. Wonderful. Any other words that folks want to share before we sign off? Either a story, a comment, any other wisdom?
I wanted to say, I forgot to define the word ahimsa when I was talking. Ahimsa is a Sanskrit word that means non-harm, and it is the vow that Gandhi took. It's the vow that the Jain religion people take, and it is synonymous with the Golden Rule and with veganism. So it's one of the most beautiful words in all languages, and it's as we've been saying, the Golden Rule is a universal rule that every religion seems to find a way to express it, and ethical traditions too, and really lots of people who are just, maybe not in a religion at all or an ethical tradition, but it's within their hearts. Like Gwenna was saying, it's in everybody's heart. It's our true nature. So an ahimsa to me is very much the same as the Golden Rule. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Yeah, and I'll also mention this idea of world peace and how often it begins on our plates. It begins with what we're eating, and hopefully not who we're eating. And there's a really important book called The World Peace Diet by Dr. Will Tuttle that goes into kind of explaining some of the connections between peace on the planet and peace on our plates that has to do with veganism, because then we are supporting all life rather than oppressing and dominating others, even if the others are our animal neighbors. So those are some really important concepts to explore, and it's a very exciting time to do that right now.
Thank you. Thank you. I love animal neighbors, because we all want to be good neighbors, right? Let's just expand our definition of neighbors.
Yes, and there's such a connection, because we think that the food that we eat relates to domestic animals like we've been talking about today, but the food choices that we make also relates to our wild animal neighbors, because ranching impacts the well-being of wild animals and where they can live and roam as well. And not only the animals who might need the resources such as different grasses and ranges, but also the animals who live in the area, and such as mountain lions and wolves and other animals. They're also impacted by the ranching industry. So there's so much connected in this, and making that simple choice of being vegan really saves so many animals, more animals than you can possibly imagine. So it's a wonderful choice that comes from the heart.
Yeah, thank you. I think when you talk about what's on your plate, it is something you can do every day. We only get an opportunity to vote every once in a while. We literally can make a choice every single meal, what is in our cup, what's on our plate. And we're the only ones that can control that. Us right here, our own selves. So thank you. Any other words? I have so enjoyed meeting my new vegan friends and hearing everyone's stories and getting to know everyone better. Any other parting words of wisdom before we close this out?
You know, I'll say when I interviewed a minister, I'm trying to remember who it was, for Prayer for Compassion, when he was talking about the golden rule, he said he likes to think about the platinum rule, which is treat others as the way they wish to be treated. You know, and so because you know an animal may not be wished to be treated exactly like us, but we definitely know they don't want to be free from harm. And so, and I love what you said about 3 times a day we get a chance to exercise the golden rule by choosing what we put on our plate. That's the most beautiful way I think you could say it.
I also wanted to give a shout out to Judy Carmen's book, Homa Himsa, and the coining of the word Homa Himsa to describe us as a species. It is so appropriate and it is so essential for this time in human history that we embrace that, because it signifies the coming together of a Latin word and a Sanskrit word. So it signifies us coming together as a species. And it replaces Homo sapiens sapiens, which translates to the wise hominid, which I've never seen a truly wise person going around saying that. You know, it's sort of the height of narcissism to go around thinking that you're wise as a species when we don't even know what to eat. You know, like any bug knows what to eat, and we as a species don't know or behave like we don't know. And so it's time for us to get some humility, and which is what Homo Ahimsa does. It sort of describes our character and not our characteristic. And I think all the other animals would appreciate us transitioning from Homo sapiens to Homo Ahimsa, because it means that we are living in a peaceful way with all of them. So I'm just so grateful to Judy for her work and for what she has done with that word.
Oh, thank you, Silas, so much. And a lot of what you're doing is helping to actually describe how Homo Ahimsa behaves in this world. And as I said in the book, with the concept of it is that we are actually letting go of our old Homo sapiens nature of domination and opening up to our true nature of Homo Ahimsa, the no harm human. And that's where we're heading. That is our great hope for this world as things keep falling around us in terms of the environment and wars and all those things. That cannot happen. That can all be healed by us becoming who we really are, Homo Ahimsa. So thanks so much for mentioning that.
Yeah, and I'll just chime in here also. Our Interfaith Vegan Coalition, we put together a Homo Ahimsa Award each year that's based on Judy's book and the definition she just described. And our very first award last year was actually granted to Dr. Silas Rao, who's with us today, and his granddaughter, Kimaya Rainey Rao, for their work to help co-create a vegan world by 2026. So we're really excited to promote that, and they have so much that they're doing together that you can discover at, I believe it's vegan2026.org.
Yeah, veganworld2026.org. Yeah.
Yes. And I noticed a comment as well about Buddhism, and there's a wonderful group that focuses on educating people around the world about veganism, vegetarianism, and Buddhism, and it's called the Dharma Voices for Animals. So if anyone's curious, that's a wonderful organization to learn more about those connections. It was also featured in Thomas Jackson's film, A Prayer for Compassion.
Well, we lost Gwenna. Oh, good, she's back. I'm so glad you're back. So, we have a page at the charterforcompassion.org. Under programs is Compassion for All Animals. And I'm hoping after this conversation, I can get resources from all of these fine folks. I'll put them there. There'll be a link to Gwenna's food pantry or her website, maybe how to see the movie, A Prayer for Compassion, In Defense of Animals, and all of the other wonderful things that have been talked about here, as well as how you might also explore going vegan. There's a pledge on our website and lots of other resources, videos on how to do this a day at a time with recipes and all sorts of other things. So bless everyone for being here. Thank you all for your wisdom, your stories. It was just wonderful to get to know each of you. And I'm so grateful that you are here on this earth doing this work. Happy Golden Rule Day, everyone.
Oh, happy Golden Rule Day. We're just thrilled to be here.
Yes.
Thank you
Happy
so much.
Golden Rule Day to you, Susan. And thank you so much for gathering us together. This has been wonderful.
It was a joy. Thank you all.
Namaste, vegan.
Namaste.
Namaste.